Good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday signalled the expansion of the hated ULEZ zone all the way out to the M25, as you're all aware. I believe that this is not only based on lies, hypocrisy and arrogance, but I believe all sides are to blame. Let's not forget that the original or the initial ULEZ within central London was introduced or proposed by Boris Johnson. And even though central London is unique in the fact that you can comfortably manage without a car, it was the structure of the ULEZ that I object to. As it stands, if this were to be based about clean air, then it would not have been structured in a manner that forces the poorest people off the road, whilst those who can afford to pay can pollute as much as they want. After all, even brand new so-called compliant vehicles, the largest 4x4s, supercars, have emissions far in excess of 300 grams. And yet, a 10-15-year-old family car, Fiesta, Vectra, Corsa, etc. Is less than 150, 120 or even less, and yet they are not compliant. It is my opinion that were this to be a plan set out to create a clean environment within cities, then the structure would have been something along the lines of banning all vehicles with an emission of over 300 at any cost immediately, and reducing the maximum limit by say 10% per year over a decade or so. The vast majority of vehicles would have been eliminated by natural wastage. People would have had years to prepare for it. Manufacturers would have had years to prepare for it, and there would have been a plentiful supply of compliant vehicles coming through, and nobody would have objected to that. But this is not about clean air. It is about control, and it is about raising funds at the expense of the poorest, and I strongly object to that, and I hold all sides accountable. So what are we going to do? As well as continuing to express our contempt for this expansion, we need to think further ahead to everything else that is coming. Pay per mile, 15-minute cities, total control. Our beloved country heading down the highway towards totalitarianism. They have succeeded at this by dividing us all along party lines. They have fragmented our society and polarised it, making every issue an opportunity to set people on one side or another against each other, and that needs to stop. Now, I'm not even in London, I'm based up in Northampton, but I'm strongly against the expansion of ULEZ, and I'm strongly against this being implemented elsewhere, because there are local authorities throughout the country rubbing their hands together and reaching for their calculators. But the only way we are going to stop this is to actually break up their infernal duopoly. Up here in Northampton North, we're divided almost evenly, Labour or Conservative. It swings one way or the other. We're based on a small swing. No independent has ever even had their deposit returned, let alone won. But the next election, I intend to stand, despite the fact that I have no chance to be able to voice my opinion. But more importantly, the main reason that I wish to stand is in the hope of encouraging other independents to stand throughout the country. There are many, many marginal seats where an independent with a campaign demonstrating that they will be truly accountable to the people, not the party whip, who could make a difference, enough to take control of the balance of power, and then hopefully at the very least we can stop this transition to dystopia, possibly even begin to reverse it. It doesn't matter what your politics are. It doesn't matter if you are a Remainer, a Leaver, left wing, right wing. Within, obviously, the confines of the law, whatever your politics, you should stand and people should support you. And I am hoping to also create a group, network of independents, no matter what their politics are, simply to support each other and encourage each other in our quest for true democracy, because this is not a democracy. This needs to end. As we are now, average people, possibly on minimum pay, can't afford to drive to the doctors or take their children to school, and yet spoilt brats from overseas are allowed to fly in their supercars and hog up Chelsea, driving backwards and forwards, polluting as much as they wish because they can afford to pay. That is not right. That is not about clean air. That is not democracy. And people need to understand this and act against it as soon as possible. There are many people who do have compliant vehicles, and sadly some of them even smugly comment, why don't you just buy a compliant vehicle? But I think they're missing the point, because as we speak, the current Euro 6 for diesel and Euro 4 for petrol are going to be amalgamated into the forthcoming Euro 7, which is due to be introduced on the 1st of July 2025. However, the Euro 7 will also include hybrid and EVs, and it will cover the recyclability of the batteries, the brakes, etc. And many of these smug people who are totally indifferent to what is happening are suddenly going to find that their vehicles are not compliant, because this is the thin end of the wedge. Therefore, if you have a few minutes, please go and research the Euro 7 directive and what it covers. This is coming to a ULEZ zone near you in the near future, because once it's introduced on the 1st of July 2025, it will not be long before they move the goalpost again. Ignore this sinister development at your peril. We need to act now. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now. See you next time.